Your dog has been awake for the last 20 minutes. Not restless or anxious, just watching you. You're on your phone, the room is dark, and at some point you look down. Your dog is sitting completely still, eyes on you, waiting. Then you close your eyes and within a few minutes they're tucked against your leg. Still. Most people explain this pretty quickly. Warmth.
My dog must be cold. That's why they tucked between my legs.
Habit.
They always do this. They're just used to it.
Separation anxiety.
I wonder what they do when I leave the room.
But this isn't actually what you think it is. On the matter of warmth, dogs are incredibly good at finding it. The afternoon sun stripe shifting across the kitchen floor by the hour, in front of the oven, that spot on the couch where the cushion has been absorbing heat because no one sat there for the last 2 hours. A dog that wants warmth finds warmth. They've been doing this on their own, just fine, for a long time without our help. So warmth isn't the answer, and habit doesn't explain the beginning, why this behavior started in the first place. So something else is driving this, something older. Sleep is the most vulnerable state that exists for any animal. Every survival system in your dog's brain, systems inherited from wolves that slept in the open, in packs with one ear always partly awake, those systems are still running. Domestication changed many things, but not those. It just redirected them. That's why your dog passes by 3 perfectly warm, quiet, protected spots in your home and climbs next to you instead. To us, this reads like an easy shortcut to comfort, but it's not that simple. This is the nervous system moving toward what it has identified as the safest anchor point in their environment. There's a study I keep coming back to every time this topic crosses my mind. In 2020, researchers at the University of Veterinary Medicine Vienna used behavioral observation and physiological monitoring to examine how dogs positioned themselves during rest when given free access to multiple locations, including close proximity to their owner. Dogs with stronger bonds to their owner, measured through separate behavioral tests, consistently chose proximity to their owner above every other available option. Warmth, familiarity, enclosed spaces, none of it outweighed the pull toward the person they were bonded to. What the Vienna team was actually measuring, without using the word, was trust, expressed through physical position during a moment of vulnerability. I first noticed this with Rocky about a year after I got him. Rocky is my dog, by the way. I had been traveling and came back home. I was exhausted. I fell asleep on the couch around 8 in the evening from jet lag. I woke up in the middle of the night and Rocky was wedged between my legs. Not in his bed 3 steps away, or in any of the other warm spots he likes. Exactly where I was. He hadn't moved the entire time. That's not about warmth. That's about where he decided it was safe to be unconscious. But proximity is only the beginning of what's happening here. I want to tell you about one more study on this topic, and this one genuinely surprised me. In 1992, psychologist John Capitanio from UC Davis began tracking what he called social buffering in primates, the measurable physiological effect of a trusted companion's presence on the stress response, heart rate, cortisol, autonomic regulation. The finding was consistent. Being near a bonded individual in a threatening or uncertain situation produced a real, measurable calming effect on the nervous system. Not a perceptual calming, an actual biological shift. Researchers later asked whether the same mechanism existed across species. It does. A 2019 study from Linköping University in Sweden tracked hair cortisol levels, a more reliable, long-term stress indicator than blood samples, in both dogs and their owners over several months. What they found was a synchronization effect. Owners with high cortisol had dogs with high cortisol. Owners with low cortisol had dogs with low cortisol. The synchronization was stronger in dogs that spent more time in close physical contact with their owners, and it worked in both directions. The dog wasn't just absorbing the owner's stress state, the owner was absorbing the dog's too. 2 nervous systems, 2 completely different species, regulating each other. That genuinely surprised me. Rocky and I affect each other's stress levels in a very real way. This is what's happening when your dog tucks against you for 8 hours of sleep. This is not one organism comforting another. It's something more mutual than that, a shared regulation loop that neither of you consciously initiated and neither of you consciously controls. Your breathing slows, theirs slows. Your heart rate settles into a resting rhythm, theirs follows. The nervous system isn't distinguishing between this is a human and this is a dog. It's reading familiar, safe, bonded, and it's lowering its tension accordingly. This is where sleep positions matter, because these aren't random. Where your dog places their body during sleep is a form of communication that most owners read right past every night. A dog sleeping curled with their nose toward their tail is protecting their belly, biologically the most vulnerable part of any animal, close to you, but not fully open. This isn't distrust, this is trust with one layer still on. A dog sleeping on their back, belly exposed, legs loose, has switched off every protective instinct their body carries. No threat assessment happening, no guarding. This position is only possible when the nervous system has completely let go. If your dog does this next to you, you're not just their safe person. You're the reason that release is possible. Now I want to tell you about the most misunderstood position. The most misunderstood position is when your dog turns their back completely to you. At first glance, it looks like indifference. But it's the opposite. In every social species studied, turning your back to someone during sleep is the highest sign of trust. Because it means, I don't need to watch you. I can't tell you how relieved I was when I learned this. Let me give you an example. I have a dog and my sister has a cat. My sister complained to me that her cat kept sleeping with its back to her, not looking at her face, and it upset her. I looked into it and found exactly the opposite conclusion. When I told her, she was really happy. So in the end, the reason cats, just like dogs, turn their backs is the same. Trust. When your dog turns their back to you, they're not ignoring you. They've simply decided they don't need to keep an eye on you. But there's a shift in this behavior that almost no one talks about, and if you notice it, it's worth paying attention to right away. If your dog has been sleeping next to you for months, same spot, same routine, same weight against your leg, and one night they suddenly change that, most owners assume something small shifted. The room was too warm. They were restless. These things happen. By the way, sometimes I share my memories and experiences with you, and it makes me really happy. And I'd love for you to share memories of moments you've had with your dog or any pet in the comments. I'll read all of them, I promise, and it would mean a lot to me. But behavioral veterinarians specifically flag this pattern because it tends to get overlooked easily. Dogs are creatures of deeply fixed habits, especially when it comes to sleep. A dog that has established a nightly proximity routine with their owner doesn't quietly abandon it for no reason. And when a reason exists, it's almost never trivial. The first thing to consider is physical. Research in veterinary behavioral medicine has consistently shown that changes in sleep location are among the earliest observable signs of pain in dogs, appearing in many cases before limping, before vocalization, before any sign an owner would immediately recognize as injury. A dog that stops jumping onto the bed may not have developed a new preference for the floor. They may have developed hip arthritis that makes jumping no longer worth the cost. They're not telling you. They're just quietly changing course. This becomes even more pronounced in older dogs. Canine cognitive dysfunction syndrome, a condition that parallels human dementia in its progression and presentation, affects an estimated 1/3 of dogs over the age of 11. Even where and how a dog prefers to rest matters. Disrupted sleep patterns are among the earliest and most consistent behavioral markers. So I'd recommend paying extra attention to these things, especially if your dog is older. The dog isn't making a different choice. Their internal navigation is shifting in ways they have no language to explain. So if the nightly ritual changes, the first question isn't, what did I do wrong? It should be, what does my dog need that I haven't noticed yet? The second thing to consider is environmental. Dogs are highly sensitive to territorial change. A new person in the home, a new animal, a shift in your schedule that reorganizes the social structure of their environment in ways that feel significant to them, even if they seem minor to you. These changes can ripple through a dog's behavior in ways that may take weeks to surface and aren't always clearly connected to their source. And sometimes the change is emotional in a more immediate sense. If something in the bedroom frightened your dog, a sound, a conflict, an association they formed with that space, they may be creating distance not out of indifference, but out of self-preservation. That space may feel unsafe to them right now. They're waiting, in the only way they know how, for it to feel safe again. What all of this points to is a truth that's simple enough but easy to forget. Your dog's decision to sleep next to you was never passive. It didn't fall under the category of least resistance or default behavior. Every night they made that choice, they were telling you something specific about where you stood in their inner world. And after this video, you now understand why these particular behaviors happen. You were where their nervous system could finally stop working. That's not a small thing to be for another living being, and if it changes, even quietly, even gradually, it's worth asking why, because they have no other way to ask. If you want to keep understanding dog psychology with me, the next video is made for you. Here's a small spoiler. Dogs can tell when a person is bad. So how do they do it? You'll find the answer in the next video. See you there.